Welcome to the Autonomic Healing Podcast. I'm Tom Pals.
And I'm Ruth Lorensson. We'll be unpacking what it looks like to activate your brain to holistically manage stress and trauma that bring healing to the mind, body, and spirit.
Being free to live authentically as humans.
Thank you for joining us. Let's get this conversation started. So we're going to talk today about stage 7 of rational intimacy.
Mm-hmm.
Last time we talked about the actualization of rational intimacy, but there's this stage that comes after that is all about commendation, praise, a good big well done from community or yourself, or especially yourself,
yes.
as we've always talked about. But yeah, Tom, kick us off in this. I mean, there's some questions around that idea of commendation. It's littered with kind of misunderstandings, and it also has different reactions from people, really depending on what is going on underneath, I think. So let's just start this conversation. How do you want to kick us off?
Okay. With commendation, people often struggle with that. Accepting compliments, deflecting compliments, internalizing praise, given that sense of, well done, wow, that was great. And for many people, that makes them real uncomfortable. And they deflect it, or they reject it, or they minimize it, or they qualify it, or they avoid it in some way. When what in rational intimacy, commendation is absolutely, it's like making the dessert and then getting to eat it.
Which is always a good thing.
Yes,
right?
or preparing this wonderful meal and then sitting down and enjoying it. That's what commendation is. It is that wonderful thing that we get to experience when we've succeeded, when we've been successful, where we've had that really wonderful moment where we've been present with ourselves or others, or we've contributed beneficially to people's lives. And there's that natural commendation that may occur. Well done. Thank you. That was great. And for many people, they don't know what to do with it.
Yeah. And I so relate, because
you're human.
Yeah, because I'm human. And also just thinking about, I would say that I have this like love-hate relationship with praise.
Okay.
Because of that. And I remember growing up, I grew up in England. So, and there's a cultural piece here, Tom.
Oh, very much.
As a British person, there's this like, I don't know, like, I don't want to put it out there and call all British people that.
Oh, no.
But I think that there's something there's something I experience and something I witness it as being British, but I'm not sure it's just cultural, where we underplay ourselves, and it's like, oh no, or I remember growing up in my 20s and people would give me a compliment and I would always deflect it back. Oh no, but you're like this, or whatever it was, and I remember clocking it and just thinking, why do I feel so uncomfortable receiving a compliment? And I'm not able to allow it to, I guess, like rest and become the purposeful, beneficial thing it's supposed to be. And then moving on to be in America and be in the space I am now. I'm not in my 20s now, but I don't feel like I'm still in that place where I'm able to receive compliments in a better way. But then it's also quite complex, because quite frankly, you're not quite sure what's genuine, what's not, as a people pleaser.
And that complicates it, yes.
Yeah, and I'm trying to become a reformed people pleaser. I'm also aware of the danger of me kind of needing that, and like, why do I don't want to need it. I want to be able to be secure, but yet there is when it's healthy, when it's in rational intimacy, it's incredibly beneficial, like you say.
Oh, essential.
So I've just kind of blurted out a whole load of reasons of like my complication over this topic. But my guess is that a lot of people identify with some of those things.
Oh, and there is a very common dynamic in the United States, culturally, of pride and praise. And the fundamental equation has been be proud of and express how proud you are of your kid or your country or your whatever it is, but don't be the one that feels that way. Because that's prideful. And pride is one of those 7 deadly sins.
Yeah, so there we use a word for those same 2 things that are actually polar opposites. To have pride in your work, to have a level of satisfaction that you worked hard and that you achieved something and it should be celebrated, is very different to be proud and like, you know, a proud person that is more... I mean, how would you describe that version of pride when it's more in the negative?
Pride, by definition, can be a feeling of deep pleasure or satisfaction derived from achievements. And hearing that reflected to you. The other version of pride is a false sense of I'm all that, and I'm the greatest, and I'm the best. And it's ugly. But we use the same word for both, which is very confusing and conflicting for many people. So you're really proud of me, and I'm not supposed to be prideful.
And so then we have this
what do I do with them?
Well, I wonder whether we have this like false humility by default. So we're like, oh, well, we, you know, to avoid being prideful, we we're not proud of our achievements, and therefore we're actually just not honest with the spaces where we can have those moments where we are proud of our kids or ourselves or our friends, you know? And
interestingly, both relate to the same core issues that we talked about, that I talk about, with the tsunami of stress, the first of which is insecurity and inadequacy. If I feel insecure and inadequate, and I've done well, and you're praising me for it, and complimenting me on it, I don't believe you.
So it doesn't matter. It does in some ways. If you're insecure or feeling inadequate, it doesn't matter how many people praise you, unless you really believe it yourself.
Yes.
It won't have the beneficial impact that it needs to have. And
it may even have the opposite. It may result in, oh, my parent or my friend or whatever is so proud of me, I've got to live up to that. And I can't fail. I can't let them down. Well, that'll disrupt a relationship. The other can be, I can't believe you because I don't believe it's true. It's an interesting paradigm where a parent, for instance, will praise their child. I'm so proud of you. You did such a great job. And what I would always like to add is, are you proud of you? Because it is important, and it's not as though it doesn't matter that I as a parent are proud of you, but that'll only get you so far. I want my children to be proud of themselves.
And I wonder, that's so good, Tom. And I remember you talking to me about this over a year ago, I think. And I wonder whether what you just hit upon is really at the crux of this, is that we actually need to be proud of ourselves and we need with the right relationships to have those people at times be proud. You're like,
it's
show
an affirmation
and affirm that they are proud of us too. As human beings, we need the both.
Because that's the connection interpersonally and intrapersonally. Interpersonally with you, intrapersonally with myself.
Yeah, and I wonder whether if both don't exist, we're in trouble. You know, like if one only exists, either way. Like, say, for example, if I'm only, you know, maybe, and it's probably better of the two, but if I'm proud of myself but I don't have anyone in my life that is actually affirming me, then there's a need there, right, to be in finding community.
Yes, but it's not a deal breaker.
Not a deal breaker, but the other way around is a deal breaker, because the other way around, if actually people are affirming me, but actually I'm not affirming myself, I don't understand my own sense of pride, then I'll never be able to accept this beneficial part of praise or affirmation that others are giving me.
Yep. And so not only is one of the reasons that people will struggle, and I struggled with this for a very long time in my own life, that it's the issue of insecurity and inadequacy that is a self-belief and a self-perception, but it's the opposite side of the same coin, which is self-image and self-esteem. To receive that compliment, to internalize that, means that what you are saying to me is consistent with what I say to myself. In other words, if your image of me doesn't match my image of me, that is a result of the praise, Houston, we have a problem. And that's communicating a level of esteem that I don't share. And so then we naturally will deflect it, or we'll minimize it, or we may even reject that praise. We may even be annoyed by that praise.
It's making me laugh a little bit, because I'm remembering back in my 20s, which feels like a fair while ago now.
Which is not as long as it was for me.
Well, there you go.
So take comfort in that.
But I remember doing this thing. Like, I remember thinking, why do I feel so uncomfortable with compliments? And I basically started doing this thing, which I don't know whether I don't think I should recommend at all, because it wasn't true either. But I did this thing where basically I created a sentence that I would say when people gave me a compliment. And it was a half step towards what you're saying. Okay. Because I didn't actually believe it, but I was trying to form words to train myself to get there. And I would say something like, and it felt so awkward, but someone would say, so, you know, Ruth, well done, blah, blah, blah. And I'd have my sentence, and I'd say, well, thank you. I think the same. and it felt like I was like blowing my own horn and all of that stuff. But actually, now looking back, what I was trying to do was speak myself into that real reality where it's actually true that I do feel the same, you know? Yeah.
So the phrase that's running through my mind is fake it till you make it.
Exactly. That's it. That's exactly what I was trying to do. Yeah.
And what is really healthy and beneficial is where we do believe it.
Yes. Yeah.
Where we feel secure and capable and believe ourselves and know ourselves to be. And where our self-image and our self-esteem, our sense of self-worth, is consistent with the reality. That doesn't mean I have to be the be-all and end-all and the best or anything like that. But to do well and to accomplish, and then to internalize that sense of, yeah, I did good. And not be surprised by it, but just have that as an affirmation, as a reinforcement of the reality, as it actually exists.
Yeah.
That's the fruit of the rational intimacy. And if you reference our last conversation about that, that's that healthy sense of well-being and relationship with others and with ourselves. That's the praise for the win-win. Mm-hmm. That's the affirmation of we both are benefiting from this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm wondering, as you're sharing, I'm thinking about, again, just that what happens in a lifetime. Like I'm 47 now, and so I feel like, when I look back at my 20-year-old self, I think, oh, well, of course you were like that, Ruth, and that there is something that happens with age in terms of like knowing who you are and being able to, you go through the rounds of life
stages. Yeah. Yes.
And I think there is something about that. And so I'm just curious what you think about like the dynamic of, because ultimately we know that we've got to, like, we need to get to this place in rational intimacy where we feel secure and capable, where we have devotion to ourselves. Because if we can't get it from everyone else, like, we know that. No. But do you think there's a little chicken and egg thing here there is a portion of if you're in good community with other people that give affirmation, real affirmation, that help you understand your own affirmation. Do you see what
Absolutely.
I mean? Because I think when I think about
it is reciprocal.
I think it is, because
it's mutual.
Like, actually, I know, the people that are very important in my life have helped me. Not just give their affirmations, actually haven't just given me this nice feeling. They've helped me see that I should be affirming myself.
And that's the reinforcing dynamic.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I think
it's not an either or.
Yeah.
Having it internally with yourself can help you manage the other person's response, whether it is affirming, whether it's critical, whether it's neglectful. You can manage it. Why? Because I'm secure in me. And I can do that.
Yeah.
But it also opens the door to a different type of relationship with another person. Because think about those core strengths in rational intimacy as opposed to the core issues in the tsunami. The core issues: inadequacy and insecurity. Because of the inadequacy and insecurity, we feel powerless. Because we're inadequate and insecure and feel powerless, it's a control issue. People and situations have it, I don't. And then the self-image and the self-esteem suffer. Those are the core issues that happen that way. And then with this another time through the tsunami, they're doubled down on. With rational intimacy, there are these core strengths of feeling secure and capable, and then feeling empowered, and then influential. And it's not a control issue at all. It's, can I be influential, and in what ways can I be influential? And there are other ways I can't be, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But I will be influential in a beneficial way as much as the opportunity presents itself. And those three things, feeling secure and capable, empowered and influential, promote self-image and self-esteem. That's healthy. That's beneficial. Then, and I've just talked about those first 4 stages, then those are compounded. Those are enhanced. And with the envisioning, feeling even more secure and capable. With the rational intimacy, feeling even more empowered. And here's where the being influential happens with commendation stage. I'm more and more influential beneficially in my own life and in my relationship with others.
Yeah.
Think about that for a minute. Because by being able to and choosing to internalize and receive that affirmation, that praise, that well done, and there can be a sense of joy with that. that there is that sense that I am all the more influential in my own life in a beneficial way. And by receiving that, internalizing that, I am influential in that other person's life. Think about it. How often have you given a compliment to somebody and it falls flat?
Yeah.
Or that it's rejected, or it's minimized, or it's moved away from. It's like, I just gave you a nice gift. I just did something really nice for you.
Yeah.
Nothing. Crickets. That has an effect.
So
you want to affirm the other person, but it's
it
not.
Won't go any, yeah.
But it doesn't go anywhere, and it's like giving somebody something really nice and loving, only to have them not unwrap the gift, or what is that? Regifting. They just pass it on to somebody else.
It's like Christmas.
Yeah.
You like store all your gifts and then you swing them around the side and
give them to somebody else. It's like, wait a minute, that was special.
Yeah.
And so you're not able to be influential in a way that you would like in that other person.
I think that's so helpful to not, when you're receiving a compliment, especially from a person that, you know, it means a lot to you, or, you know, that there's some level of really great, authentic connection with that person, instead of it just being about, just to see it as this person's given me a gift. I mean, literally, if you had a physical gift that you gave a person and you just literally stood up and walked out the door without unwrapping it, that would be crazy, right?
No,
but that's what
awful.
A compliment is. It's like, I'm giving you a gift, and we don't give gifts every week. We don't give them all the time, but there are these moments in Kairos moments where it's important for someone to receive a gift, and it's important for us to give that gift, and to be able to tune into when those times are, and to be then, as a recipient, to be able to sit down and go, okay, let me unwrap this. Because that is about, it is rational intimacy between the two, then, or between the group, or whatever it is.
And then you're more and more influential in beneficial ways in your own life and in that other person's life, to the degree that the relationship involves that.
So I'm curious, Tom, because I'm wondering whether one of the reasons why we don't do that, and I'm sure there's all sorts of reasons, is that we are suspicious from past experiences of praise that actually isn't a real, like, you know, there is flattery.
It wasn't authentic.
Or it was manipulative, or it was whatever. And so I wonder whether, which is trauma, really. There's some level of trauma in that.
It can be, yes, very much.
From our experiences of the past, which are influencing how we operate in the now. So I'm wondering about, because I know that for me, as I've kind of moved on in this space, and I feel like I'm able to accept real compliments now more than I've ever been. But I think I've been able to know whether something's just pure flattery, or that it's not coming from a genuine, it's not the gift.
It's not authentic.
It's just kind of words, you know, it doesn't really mean anything. I think I know the difference between that and a real compliment. And the reason I say that is because, you know, when it's flattery, it feels like it doesn't do anything for me. Like, it feels like it's water off a duck's back slightly. I mean, even a couple of weeks ago, I had a conversation with this guy that I really respect. He's an author and doing all sorts of stuff that I'm interested in. And anyway, he kind of gave me this compliment, and it was a weird experience because he kind of gave me this compliment and just affirmed me, honestly, in what I was doing. And it was in the morning, and then later that day I was driving around, doing my whole pick up the kids, whatever. And I felt like the words were kind of sinking into my body. And the way I would describe it, it was like food for my soul. I was like, and I hadn't asked for that, but I just thought, and I said to God, because I believe I have a relationship with God, and I was like, I needed that today. Thank you, and I will receive those words. But it came out of a real place, and I was able to receive it in a real way. So I think that distinction has helped me. And actually, there are going to be people who flatter you, and they're saying stuff because they're out of the wrong motivation. But then there's going to be these moments of pure gifting. And the question is, are you able to receive that or not?
Yes. And that can be a function of homeostasis or a lack of it, which is why AHA can be so instrumental in resolving those stresses and traumas that resulted in the inadequacy and in the insecurity and the poor self-image and the low self-esteem. And when those aren't being triggered even by praise. See, that's the thing.
Yeah.
Trauma can be triggered by praise. Like,
so
it's
true.
Undeserved. It's, no, this isn't, no.
And also, I think when you think that what you need is praise, and there's this insecure sense of well-being.
Insecure, inadequate. It's, how does that impact the person? What are they able or not able to do with that? And you can have all manner of affirmations, but the fake it till you make it isn't really true, because it's just faking it. That's the problem with fake it till you make it. If all you're doing is faking it, you won't make it, because you don't have the self-perception and belief that can internalize the affirmation, the realistic assessment. You made it. Well done.
It should be more like make it until you live it. Something like that.
Something.
Well, I think we've got to practice.
I'll give some thought to that, of course, now, as opposed to the fake it till you make it. What's the actually rational alternative?
There you go. We'll bring that up.
Yeah, I'll give some thought to that.
I know you like to twist these things around.
Oh yeah.
But it's so true, because I think there is something about. Well, I think the idea is that we are faking. Like, that's the point. The tsunami of stress is faking it. It's pretending. It's the whole, oh, thank you, and you're not thanking. You're not. It's actually. It might be making you feel even more uncomfortable by having it, and so. But there's something about being able to acknowledge the fact that it's uncomfortable. I mean, I think the starting point is, if you feel uncomfortable with a compliment, it's facing the truth and thinking, what is happening now with me? That's a good indicator.
What is this from?
That something's not right,
Because the other person is perceiving me in a way I don't perceive myself.
That's right.
And why is that? It may be that the other person is perceiving me in a way I don't perceive myself, because it's just flattery and praise, and it's manipulation, and I'm uncomfortable with that. It could be also, though, that they're believing something, they're experiencing something with me that I don't believe and haven't experienced with myself. And that's where, okay, well, I can consider that opinion.
Yeah.
What are they seeing that's clearly the case that I simply haven't accepted and believed? And if it's authentic, and it's genuine, and it's truthful, why wouldn't I embrace that?
Yeah.
And what is it maybe in my past experiences that says, don't, or you shouldn't? Because oftentimes when we reject or deflect a compliment, it's because what I've experienced in the past is inconsistent with it. A child, for instance, who is constantly criticized, found fault with, when they do well, they're likely to find fault and criticize themselves. Why? Because that's what they learned. It was never good enough.
So there's this perfectionism.
Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Or I could never please you. Mm-hmm. Or this is my way of being in control of you. And then the compliment gets associated with that. And that may not be what's happening in the present with this person, but because it happened with those people where there was so much at stake and they were so significant in my life, it's the same thing again. Mm-hmm. So as I like to say, change the faces, change the places, but it's still the same experience.
Yeah.
But it's not. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't have to be. That's where homeostasis can open us to things that otherwise would trigger that sense of threat or perceived threat. Because when we don't internalize and embrace the compliment, the affirmation, it's because we sense or perceive it as a threat to our well-being, which is like very confusing. Here this person's giving me something really nice and I'm threatened by it.
Well, I think...
But I am, because it's not consistent with what I've experienced and what I've believed.
Well, I think for me, it's clear as a day in my mind why I wouldn't have done that, because this would be my narrative, is that compliment has the power to make me feel better about myself, or but start believing in myself in the way that I'm achieving something or whatever. And what if it isn't true? I don't want to have that. I'd rather stay on my own than trust that and then be let down. So I think that for me, and that's just that would be my narrative. And I'm sure there's other, because we have all different perceptions, but I can see the whole train of thought. For me. Yep. And so at some point, and I'm really grateful for this, because I know that this has definitely been part of my own AHA journey, really, with autonomic healing, but also my work on my perceptions. I've stopped that cycle now. Good. And actually, and I don't take all of the comments that I don't feel are real compliments, but I will sit with a compliment from a trusted friend and know, actually, the idea of going, I don't need any compliment. No, that's not true. We do.
Of course we do
need affirmation. And I think that's the flip side of, the pride thing again. It's like, we don't want to be prideful. No, we actually we're human beings that need that. Well done. You've achieved something, to ourselves and from other people. So I'm grateful for that in my own life, and I hope for our listeners that they can think through their own scenarios too, and like, well, what would I do? But I've got two, as we close this, Tom, I've got just two things I wanted to bring up. One was, what about people who find themselves, maybe they're insecure spaces and they're feeling like, I can affirm myself, and then they're finding that they're in situations where people just aren't affirming them. I mean, I think that's a real situation that people find themselves in.
Absolutely.
And then there's this confusion of, should I need this? Should I not? I would like you to speak to that. And then also I wanted to know your thoughts on how we can, as people in good, healthy relationships, how we can embrace being people who give compliments wisely and well.
Yes.
So there you go, two scenarios.
So the first that you approached is an issue of resilience. How can I be resilient in the face of a lack of something that is so important to being a healthy human being? And resilience in this case comes from, I have an internal source for it.
Yes.
That can come from me. I would love to get it from you. I appreciate getting it from you, but if your capacity to give that isn't there, that's okay. Mm-hmm. I don't have to have that from you because I can have that from me. And that's a resilience in the face of the lack of that affirmation. It's very challenging.
And I guess it's not long term.
No.
We don't want to be in that for long term.
In this moment, in this space. But I can be resilient and manage that.
That's so great.
The second that actually really does relate to it is then entering into that other person's empathy and joy and appreciation and entering into that with them. It's like you get to go have this time with this other person that's refreshing and invigorating and enlivening. And you get to go have that meal with them, so to speak. You get to have that moment and be present in that, because there are times when we naturally struggle with that ourselves, and then we can get that from others. Yeah.
So just to have that view, that perception of, I get to, as someone else in my life is working hard and achieving something, to align myself with that and say, hey, good job. It's actually, you get to participate in the joy that's theirs.
Yes.
So it is a gift that you're given, but you're also getting a gift back, potentially.
Yes.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
So, how important is that commendation and affirmation? It's like getting to eat the meal that you work so hard to prepare. It's the reward. It's the payoff. Not just the satisfaction of having done well, but hearing and internalizing, well done. Because, this is a foreshadowing of our next one, that sets us up for that final stage of rational intimacy, which is motivation. I want to do this more.
Wow. Well, I'm very motivated for our next conversation. And that's just been really, I've really enjoyed this conversation, Tom. Thank you. And listeners, join us next time as we speak about motivation.
You've been listening to the Autonomic Healing Podcast.
Join us next time as we continue in our conversations with Tom. If you're interested in pursuing your own autonomic healing journey and want to find a practitioner, visit our website, innerworkings.org. See you at the next episode.